Hello and welcome to CDO Magazine interview series. I am Davie Cochrane, the San Francisco partner at LiveWell Capital, and I'm really excited today to have Satyen Sangani, the CEO and co-founder of Alation. So thank you very much for joining us, Satyen.
Hey, David, great to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's kick this off. Can you tell me about Alation and how you and your company help organizations build data culture?
Yeah, so Alation is a software as a service company. And what that basically means is that we provide software both to enable customers to consume it on the cloud and then, of course, offline if they'd like to. And what that software basically does is it allows people to gather intelligence about their data. So most companies have lots of different data systems, some of which are operational, like Salesforce or Workday, some of which are analytical, like Snowflake or Tableau. And in all of these systems, they have all this data, and that data helps them to make better decisions or to build AI algorithms. The problem is, of course, that as you get more and more data, if you think about any file system you have, even on your own laptop, you just end up getting really confused by the amount of data that you have across the company because it's supposed to be obviously illuminating, but it can be quite confusing because just like the internet, as you just get more and more and more pages, it just becomes harder and harder to navigate. And so what we do as a data intelligence system is basically crawl all of these different data assets and data sets and make the data more comprehensible and accessible to the people that work inside of that company. And what we do that by basically describing the data so that people can search for it. And the experience looks not a lot different from Amazon.com or Yelp, where you've basically got people, if you've got a restaurant page on Yelp, as an example, you are able to figure out who's dined there, what the reviews are, where it's located, what the average prices are, what the best dishes are. Data very similar. You can figure out who's used the data, where the data came from, what the data means, which systems the data is related to, how the data has been used, and you get all that context from a system like Alation. And I guess finally, to answer your ultimate question, why that drives a data culture is because it makes data accessible to more people so they can make data-based decisions versus gut-based decisions.
Got it. Okay. Well, let's expand on that. So how does Alation support the data or the technical decision maker? And maybe an example of this that we can start with is why should a C-level manager in the IT department care about it in contrast with a non-technical business analyst?
Yeah, so I think we certainly service different audiences, and those have different needs. And typically we're servicing multiple audiences within an enterprise. And I would say the end user interface is designed for people who are both technical and non-technical. So as one of our early advisors described it, it's kind of like Alice in Wonderland. You can go down the rabbit hole and you can decide sort of how far down the rabbit hole you want to go based upon your own curiosity and based upon your own capability. And so if you're really technical, you can go really, really deep. And if you're less technical, then you can go to a level that is comfortable and accommodating for you. Now, that is about data consumption. That's about people who are asking questions. And those questions can be things like, who are my best customers? Or how exactly do people use my services? Or where could I save money if I wanted to be able to shave off cost in a particular domain? Those are all questions that people who are consuming data can ask. Now, the IT manager, the person who is responsible for both typically managing the software, but much more importantly, managing the data inside of the company, those folks care about slightly different things. They do care about giving their business users the experience of getting to data, because obviously, IT, information technology, is all about sort of enabling people with information. But it is also the case that they care about operational cost efficiency, how to manage all these really expensive data workloads that are happening both on-prem and in the cloud. And they also care about organizing their data because they have to comply. And they also have to care about things like managing the systems and the correctness of the data because they want to make sure that whatever data gets out is helpful. And Alation helps do all of those things too, in addition to helping manage consumption. And we do that by basically giving people a sense for what data exists and how people are using it. And that really gives the IT manager a lot more power in managing the data, managing the risk, addressing compliance a lot more easily than they otherwise might.
Got it. Okay. Well, so changing gears a little, and I got to make sure that my numbers are correct, but I believe Alation recently raised a Series E round of 123 million. So tell me about the round and tell me about what you guys at the company plan on using the capital for.
Yeah. So obviously not an amazing time in the markets relative to the recent past. And I think that's, it doesn't take a very astute observer to come to that conclusion. But I think we were in a position where we had seen a lot of growth in the business. The business was almost double the size since our prior round, which was Series D, which we raised in June of 2021. Our growth rate had also almost doubled. And so in the context of a business that was growing really fast, we felt like we could get a round done. And the reason to do that was to continue to grow in an environment that may or may not be challenging, but irrespective of whether the environment was challenging, we sort of felt like the business was doing so well that we didn't want to shortchange our market opportunity. And so we decided to go raise a round. Luckily, had a whole bunch of options to choose from, and ended up with a partner that we're super excited about in Thoma Bravo, who are one of the top 10 private equity firms and global growth investing firms globally, and obviously have a ton of assets under management, but much more critically understand how to grow profitably, which is something that we were really quite interested in as we approach the public market. So got the round done. We're able to be sort of, roughly 50% up when the rest of the market is 70% down. So we feel like that's a win. And generally speaking, now we're going to be investing aggressively in the business in order to grow, in a profitable way, but certainly as aggressively as the market expects us to, because we have customers that are really phenomenal and really need a lot from us to help them manage their data.
Got it. Well, congrats on raising the round, and it sounds like you guys are on the right track. So
yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously you gotta earn it every day. And so
yep.
Nothing that you've done yesterday, guarantees performance. And that's true for wealth management and certainly true for software as well.
Certainly. Well, so changing the topic again. So you recently announced that Alation Connected Sheets was released, and so my understanding is that that's a product stemming from your acquisition of Cloud.io. So tell me about that. What does that do for your subscribers or your clients, and how does it provide or what product does that solve?
Yeah, so we are in the business of managing and enabling discovery of structured data, basically data that sits in databases, data that sits in operational systems. So we don't really live in the world of, sort of what I'll call broad text-based search like Google or Elasticsearch. Those things search over text pages, but we search over a lot of structured data sources. A lot of structured data lives in systems like relational databases. And so the companies you would have heard of that do that work are Snowflake and certainly Oracle and farther afield Mongo and IBM. And those all have sort of structured and semi-structured ways of storing and managing data. And we crawl those data sources. Now, what's interesting about that is there is obviously a lot of data in those data sources. But if you think about and ask any average user of data what the most commonly used tool that they access is, it isn't a relational database. It probably isn't even a system like Tableau, which is quite popular, but it rather is something like a spreadsheet. Like Microsoft Excel is probably the most widely used data tool in the world. And it's usable because it's super comprehensible. People get spreadsheets, people get grids. And yet most of the data tools, most of the data management tools that exist totally ignore spreadsheets. And there are technical reasons for that. And there are also procedural reasons for that and process reasons within an organization. But our general view was, why is it that all of these tools that manage data don't manage spreadsheets? And so what we heard from chief data officers and data architects was, look, we love spreadsheets and we hate them. We love them because it gives people data access, but we hate them because it's totally disorganized and they're chaotic and they're spread all over the place. And one person called spreadsheets the dark matter of the data universe, totally like just completely opaque and hard to manage. And what we sort of said was, wow, what if we brought spreadsheets under the same discovery mechanisms, control mechanisms, governance mechanisms that we do with the rest of the data world, that would just open up a much broader landscape of data to people to use, and it would allow people who use spreadsheets to use data so much more easily and better than they otherwise did. And so when we came upon the Cloudio opportunity, which we did late last year, or sorry, early last year, late last year, we basically said, wow, this is a phenomenal company with phenomenal founders, and we could do something really innovative. And I think with this connected sheet launch, you're seeing that people can now use spreadsheets to get data from any governed system. They can use spreadsheets to track lineage, they can govern spreadsheets, they can manage their spreadsheets in the same way they manage any other structured data source. And it really just opens up the aperture for people to use data more broadly and for data to be managed at scale much better than it otherwise has been historically.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Satyen, for joining me today. And for all the viewers, please visit cdomagazine.tech for any additional interviews.
Great speaking with you, Davie. Thank you for the
Likewise.
time.